I thought if I started my own company and got away from this big traveling on the road, I would be home more. And I was like, nope, that didn't work out. I still had to go to markets. I still had to call on clients. I still had to build the business. And I was, and I had to work harder. I had to be at work 10, 12 hours every day.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Men on Purpose podcast. I'm your host, Ian Lobos. Today, I've got a really fun guest, a guy just serial entrepreneur. And one of the reasons why I liked him was because his bio and his one sheet said he left a family business and his dad was one of his biggest influencers and heroes. And if you know anything about me, you know that that is a big part of my story. So I was immediately attracted to Bew White because of that. And Bew is going to talk to us today about a lot of cool stuff. As a serial entrepreneur, worked for his family's Fortune 500 company and left it. And all the things that he learned along the way, he's put in his new book, Summer Classics. So I'm excited today because I had a lot of fun in this interview, a lot of fun, and I learned a lot. So let's take care of some business real quick. I'm going to tell you what this episode's all about. So first, if you haven't already, join the Men on Purpose community on Facebook. Make sure that you like and subscribe to the Men on Purpose podcast on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, whatever, wherever you listen, doesn't matter. Just like it. And if you would, leave us a review. And if you are ready to rock right now and you want some help with a big challenge in your life and you smashed up against a wall and you're like, hey man, I just need something to get me through this and the other side, and I need to break through, we got you. Tons of different stuff we have available. Our mastermind comes up every 3 weeks. We're starting another one in 2 weeks from now. We have different courses. We have free coaching in the Men on Purpose community. Pick one. Just take action on it. Take action on the free stuff. We don't care. Just take action. We want to help you in any way we can. We want to serve you in any way we can. So that's that. Now, here are the things we're going to go over today. What we're going to go over is leaving a family business, which might apply to some of you. We're going to talk about regret. And we're going to talk about regret from the point of Bew, who's an older guy who's been through a lot of life and almost died in 2013. And we're going to talk about it from what he learned from older people and the biggest regrets that they were facing and why he decided to shift his life. We're going to talk about the support of your wife or your partner or the support group that you're around, your inner circle. Talking about working through failures, family meetings, which is a really cool topic. I'm talking about family meetings with your kids and his interpretation, how he did it with his kids to get his kids interested in understanding of the family business. We're going to talk about what success means to him, which hint, hint, it's all about relationships. We talk about 6 biggest traits of an entrepreneur. We're going to talk about faith and trust, and we're going to talk about the clarity of death. You ready? Here we go. All right, Bew. So I want to let the audience know when I got your one sheet from the agency, like there's 2 things that attracted me initially. The first one was that you left a family business. And the other one was that your dad was one of your mentors and go-tos for advice and, whatever we get from our dads. And that's the other thing that really attracted me because I have left a family business, not as big as yours. I have left a family business, and it was extremely tough, mentally, emotionally. And my dad is probably my biggest mentor and go-to for advice, even still. And I'm, 39 years old. I still go to him for a lot of stuff. So I just want to start there and dig into that because I know there are a lot of people listening who have maybe they haven't been able to pull the trigger, and maybe we can help them today. And the other piece is for guys like us that are lucky enough to have had or have dads that have been great influences in our lives. What else can we get out of that relationship? And then the other thing is for guys that don't have that, do you have any ideas on how to open that up? So let's just start with the leaving the family business and then we'll walk through the rest of the stuff.
I don't know if you read the part about where I fired my dad. He was an attorney, right?
I did.
And he wasn't charging me and I fired him. I was like, you're just too into it's too personal for you. Let me just get this other guy and he's good. And he said, you're going to have to pay him, right? And I was like, yeah, I know, but I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Anyway, Yeah, Dad was he was a pretty famous attorney. He's on the board of at least 4 Fortune 500 companies.
Wow.
One of them is Northwest Airlines, which ended up being Delta.
Yeah.
But one of them was the company that my great grandfather started that I was working for.
Interesting.
And I think that maybe, and it is surprising that he actually helped me get out.
Yeah.
I think he wanted me to be there, but he didn't want me to be there if I didn't want to be there. And he had worked with entrepreneurs over his lifetime, and he kind of understood there's an opportunity there. And that, one of the big things for me was when I started working there, I was the first one in the 3rd generation or 4th generation to come in. And then I thought, oh man, I'm in the catbird seat and there's no other cousins in here. And then all 4 of my cousins came in behind me. I was like, man, this is going to be a bloodbath. I'm going to get to 50 and, I might get it and I might not get it. One of the things I never would have realized, my family business was a big business. It was a Fortune 500 business back when the textile business was really going strong, and there were cutters in the United States. So all the clothing was made in the United States back then. It wasn't made overseas like it is now. And so
what business was it? Let the audience know.
It was a company called Avondale Mills, and they made fabric. They were also the largest yarn producer in the United States, and they made carpet yarn.
Oh wow!
And knitting yarn, that made like cotton socks and acrylic sweaters and carpet, all the carpet yarns you can imagine, nylon, polyester, all the things that people were tufting carpet in Dalton, Georgia, primarily. They were the largest producer of that as well. So I was in the fabric division, and we were selling denims, and our biggest accounts were Levi Strauss and Bluebell, which is Wrangler, and H.D. Lee, and people like that.
Wow, that is big.
And I was doing great. So I was 28 years old, and I was making $65,000 a year. And that was 1978. So you're talking about, that was a lot of money back then.
Yeah.
And you can't imagine how many times I looked back and said, you're an idiot. Why did you stop doing that? That was a great job. You're crazy. And I was getting ready to buy a really nice house in Greensboro, North Carolina. I was like, but I decided this was going to be my chance. And I went to my father and said, I really think I want to have a company. And so he started looking for me. He started looking for companies for me to buy, mostly dealing with his accountant. And he found that, this is in the book too, he found that dog food company. And I was calling Ralph Lauren at the time, and I'd been in the clothing business most of my life up until then. And so I was kind of enamored with really nice clothing. There were mice or rats running around in this dog food plant. I was like, I don't think that's for me. But we looked at several other things, and I found an opportunity in the furniture business, and that's what got me into the furniture business. So,
right.
And he was very supportive of me doing that. And I took a more than 50% cut in salary, and I didn't even do my numbers to see that I couldn't live on that. So I was like,
it's a part of the learning, though.
Yeah, I was like, I have an MBA in mistakes, so I've learned a lot. I'm working on my PhD now.
I was gonna say, you probably are going for PhD if you're making those kind of moves. You're PhD level. I know I am.
Yeah. I made a $30 million mistake one time. I was like, boy, you're an idiot.
Tell me about that.
So I was working. This is not real recent, but probably 2001 or so, and I'm working with China, and I had learned the paint suppliers, no matter what country you were in, would screw you, excuse my French. So I had gone to international paint suppliers. I was already working with Axo Nobel and Sherwin-Williams, and I was like, okay, these guys won't screw me. So I'm in the outdoor furniture business, and I have to have certain UV requirements. So if you put it outside in the rain and sun, it has to last. And we're high end, so we had to have we had real high specs. But we didn't have a way to check our specs. And Sherwin-Williams sold me a 500-hour UV paint when our spec is 15. In other words, it lasts 1 year.
Right.
Might last 3 if it's on a covered porch or something. But our spec is 3 to 5 years. So, and most of it lasts 10 years or longer. So we have a real high. We actually use architectural paint now because we learned the hard way. That was part of the MBA thing too. This is a big. But I developed a finish that was incredibly popular and drew tons of people to the line. I sold $30 million of it before I found out I had sold a problem. And the paint would literally start peeling off after a period of time. And then I had to come up with something. And my customer service department was coming to me going, we're going to go out of business.
You got a problem.
No, let me show you how we're going to deal with this. It's going to be like a mattress warranty. So they have a warranty. We're going to take care of them. We're going to help them get it repainted. Da, da, da. And we came up with this process. It cost a lot. I mean, it probably ended up costing us somewhere between $5 and $10 million over a period of years.
Yeah.
But we dealt with it. But we lost a lot of credibility over that period of time.
I'm sure.
We had to make a real comeback from that, which we did.
So what was it about I'll share my story in a second. What was it about your final year at the company, or maybe what was leading up to you thinking about it and saying, I gotta go?
That's a great question. So I'm in New York City and I'm calling on lots of big accounts, but I'm also calling on small accounts, and some of my accounts were what they call jobbers. You know what those are? Mm-hmm. In the fabric business, there are people that buy off goods or overruns or different kind of fabric.
Marshalls.
They take and then sell it to somebody that might sell it to Marshalls.
Oh,
so they would sell the fabric. They'd buy the fabric for $1 and sell it for $1.25. Their thing was turn it really quick and try not to inventory it and ship it right from us to them and have relationships with the factories. And I was calling on one guy, and I got to be really good friends with him. His name was Art Friedman, and he lived not too far from me. I lived in Nyack at the time, and he lived in Westchester County. And so one day I went to lunch with him. I said, "What do you pay yourself?" And he gave me the number, and it was more than the president of Avondale Mills was making.
Oh, wow.
I was like, wow, you only got like 4 employees. He said, no, 3. And I was like, okay, wow. That's amazing. You can make that kind of money just in a small business. He said, yeah. And I get to, and I'm putting money back into inventory all the time too. I'm not just taking it all out.
Sure.
And so I was like, man, there's got to be, it's the freedom of working for yourself seems like a great thing. And he was very encouraging. He didn't know I was going to go down the road of mistakes. So then, that after talking to guys like that, I talked to other ones. I was like, having your own business might be the thing that I just need to do. That I just need to get that out of I've got this idea that I should do that, and I'm worried about being in my 50s and not being president of Avondale Mills and being disappointed. And so,
well, let me ask you something on that. Like, what comes up for me is the regret, and a lot of our audience. A lot of the people in our Men on Purpose community, a lot of people that go through our coaching programs, they are making decisions now based on future regret. And they're thinking about it and processing it. It sounds like that's what you were doing. How old were you? 25, 28?
28, yeah, 28. Well, 28 when I left. I was probably 26 when I started
thinking about
looking,
it.
Thinking about it.
Was it
it's interesting about this no regret thing? I'm doing a study on that. I can't believe you brought that up. I'm doing a study on that right now because a lot of people my age, they're looking back at their life.
Sure.
And guess what? One of the biggest, you'll love this. Guess what? One of the biggest regrets is?
Not taking chances that you could have.
Right. Not taking enough risk.
Yeah.
And a lot of it has the other ones are mostly revolve around relationships.
Sure.
With family or friends or whatever it is, it's relationship. Somebody was going through this with me. I said, well, that's one I don't regret. I was taking crazy risk. I said, maybe my regret is I took too many risks. I would put up my house every year for like 11 years. And I would take all the equity out of my house and put it in the company. And I was like, I'm paying myself $41,000 a year. I'm going like, this is crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is crazy. This makes no sense. And my wife would go, no, I believe you can do this. I'm like, okay, I'll keep going, but this just doesn't seem smart to me.
How was your wife were you married when you left the family business?
Yes, I was married right out of college. I got out of college, got married a month and a half, 2 months later, and then then I moved her to New York because she'd never been anywhere but Panama City, Florida. So it was a big wake up call for her.
Nice.
She's like, "You better meet me at the plane." Of course, they didn't have security then, so you could walk right out to the
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the reason why I asked that is because when I left my family business and I started my real estate business, before I even had this thought of starting my own business, I kind of gave up on myself. And I want to get your opinion on that. And I'll tell you the rest of this story. I started teaching swimming lessons for $10 an hour because I didn't feel like I had any other skills. And with my dad's business, which is the international shipping business, I was very good at what I did. And I'd been in the business my whole life. So I knew the ins and outs of everything. And so even though I was 29 when I left there, it was like I was 55 with the level of experience.
Wow, you don't.
What's that?
20. You're 25 now, right?
No. 39 now. And what the point of that is, so I'm teaching these swimming lessons. I'm literally crying in my goggles every day, literally. The other instructors were dumping water out of their goggles. I was dumping tears. Yeah. And I go home every night and I'm like, what am I doing with my life? And my wife's like, you got to do something. Like, you got to do this. You got to do this. You got to go for something. And I'm like, how? I can't. Like, I thought I could do it on my own, but I can't. Like, I guess I need my dad. And so I had this lack of confidence, which wasn't based on reality, by the way, or evidence. It was just based on my massive fear and insecurity. And so my wife was the one that just kept saying, like, you can totally do this. I'm willing to take this risk. I trust you with it. Like, I know you can do it. And so when you say that, I hear so many people with stories like ours whose wives were the ones behind them going, yes, 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 move forward, move forward, move forward. And that was a game changer for me. Was that a game changer for you?
Yes. Support groups. I mean, some people are not married, so they're going to need a support group, different type of support group. But there's one other element, and you probably, if you've talked to enough people, I bet you've heard this. It's my son calls it grit.
Grit, yeah.
It is pushing through situations that are so difficult that you can't see the end game.
Agreed.
So you're in a situation, that $30 million problem is one of them.
Sure.
And I had a huge problem with Royal Bank of Scotland, which we can talk about if you want to.
Yeah.
It's a situation where you say, I'm gonna have to sell my house and move and go buy some cows to eat. It's all
right.
You're like, I can't believe I've gotten myself in this. How do I get myself out?
Right.
You push through those situations, and you've got to have that grit.
Yeah.
There is a lot of self-confidence involved. I don't mean you have to be egotistical. You don't have to be a
sociopath.
Yeah. But you have to be Donald Trump to get through. Right. But but you got to have belief in yourself. And I think you had that. It was there, but your wife needed to tell you you could do it.
I wasn't able to access it for some reason. Like, it was a self-imposed block and limitation. I just wasn't able to access it at the time. And I've told this story a lot. And what she said to me was, like, I didn't sign up for this, because I had gone to her and I said, I think I'm going to stock bananas at the grocery store. And people have heard this story. I just love telling it. And she said, I didn't sign up for that. And I said, what? You didn't sign up for what? She goes, I didn't marry a loser. And I said, I don't think stocking bananas at the grocery store makes you a loser. She goes, giving up on your dream does. And I was like, it was like an arrow right to the heart. Yeah. She doesn't remember this. I do clearly, because I started tearing up and I was like, oh man, I don't want her to see that she got me. And so I thought, all right, well, you know what? If I can't do this for me, I've got to do this for her, because I made a commitment to her. So the other thing that I needed besides grit was resolve and integrity to my commitment, right? So I didn't make a commitment to be an entrepreneur. I made a commitment to provide the best life possible and be the best partner that I could. And the trajectory that I was going down when I left my dad's business was not the best partner that I could be. And so I had to make a choice. And even though I'm sure you had many sleepless nights and fearful days, anxiety ridden, depression ridden, but that resolve and that grit and that commitment pushes you through that stuff. and it makes you stronger. It makes great entrepreneurs. Like smooth seas never made a great sailor. It's the same concept.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
true. Yes. Yeah.
So
Failure is the great teacher.
yeah. So what happens at that point when you're like, what was the tipping point for you to leave? Like, you started getting this idea, and this idea started growing like a wildfire in your head of like, man, I think I can do this on my own. Was it because you needed to make a name for yourself, or you didn't want to be in your dad's or your family's shadow, or like what was it internally that started really eroding or eating at you?
I don't know that there was any one thing. I can't really name a moment that I said, that's it. But when I started looking at things, I was like, okay, well, this is good. This will work.
Sure.
And when I found this furniture company, I said, okay, well, I think I can help these guys.
Yeah.
Turns out I couldn't. I mean, that was my first huge mistake, other than quitting my job. That was like, man, you're messing up big time. And after 9 months, I had to leave. I was like, this is never going to work. I can't make this thing work. I'm not in control, and I don't have enough money to save it, and I just need to get out. And so I started my own business from an idea, just blank sheet of paper.
Oh, so you guys bought the furniture business and then you walked?
No, I bought a percentage, a small, like 10%
got it.
of a going concern. They were doing maybe $2 million.
Got it. Okay.
And I bought 10% of that, but I used 25% of my net worth to do that. So then I had to walk away from that.
Right.
I actually borrowed the money to put in there from stock. I put up stock and borrowed the money to do that. So I was like, man, I am so screwed. And then I started selling, and I did really well at the next venture. But then I was on the road. I was gone all the time. And then I went from making $25,000 a year to making $200,000 a year. I was like, okay, this is kind of what I had imagined. It took a while to get there, but I got there pretty quick.
Sure.
And so during that, I learned to do some entrepreneurial things, and I failed at a lot of those along the way. Like I bought a building with a guy, and he went out of business, and he went bankrupt, and I got the building. I'm like,
jeez,
what am I going to do? I don't need a building. What am I doing here? Like a 46,000 square foot building, which maybe doesn't sound big to me now, but it was huge back then.
That's a big building.
Yeah. But it's turned out to be now it's our outlet. It became our corporate office, so it really, that was our first corporate office. So it really worked out. It's just, making lemonade into lemons is what I was really doing.
Yeah. What did you do, like, mentally to get yourself through that? Did you have a shrink? Were you popping pills? Were you doing meditation? Like, what were you doing to get yourself through that?
The big one was when I had a $20 million loan with Royal Bank of Scotland, and they got in trouble in 2008. They had the largest loss in corporate history. They lost $62 billion in one quarter, the fourth quarter of 2008. So they had nowhere to get money. They ended up, eventually, Bank of England saved them. But before that, the only place they could get money was get it back from their clients they lent it to. So they were putting pressure on all the clients, and I was one of them. And I was just like, I don't know. I don't have enough wisdom to get through this. I just prayed all this. I didn't sleep. Like you said, I always say, I didn't need amphetamines to stay awake back then. I was like, I never slept. It was like, you keep looking for something to get into your brain that makes it work. But I got through that, and I got it. And, the bank business started unicing over in the fall of 2009.
Yeah.
And so I started working on a loan, and then I actually closed the loan with the other bank the day before my loan was due with the Royal Bank of Scotland. So it was a nail biter.
Yeah.
But
did it cause any like turmoil in your marriage and your relationship? That's
probably made it stronger. I think what did cause turmoil was when I was gone all the time. So when I left the company that I had bought part of after 9 months, I went on the road, and I had this huge territory, and I was never home. And I had 3 kids. And I thought, here's the next mistake I made. I thought if I started my own company and got away from this big traveling on the road, I would be home more. And I was like, nope, that didn't work out. I still had to go to markets. I still had to call on clients. I still had to build the business. And I was, and I had to work harder. I had to be at work 10, 12 hours every day and the weekends too. So I was like, and I think I was kind of like you. I was like, I'm never going to get out. I'm going to be like a professor the rest of my life making $25,000. I don't know how to do it. And that's when I started paying myself $41,000. I went from $250,000. I got up to that by then to $41,000 for 11 years. And I'm like I kept going to my wife going like, you realize we're not making any money. We're making the mortgage payments, but that's about it. This is crazy.
So talk about that for a second.
Like what you're saying, my wife wasn't really putting it in my face. She was like supportive. Yeah. She was saying, you can do this. I believe in you, Yeah. And I was like, okay, I'll keep trying. Wow. I can't believe you believe in me, but if you believe in me, maybe I can.
Right. What's interesting is the story is so similar because like every time I'm like, why are you sticking around here? Why do you keep believing in me? I keep failing. And like my wife said in a mental health coach session, I said, like, I don't know why you stay. I don't know why you keep backing me. I keep messing so much up. And she said, because I know who you really are and you just haven't found him yet, but I know who he is. And I know that guy can do anything. Like, that was very motivating to me. Yeah, and so what's interesting is there's two things that kind of came up for me. One is you kind of hop out of the fire into the frying pan or whatever it is, frying pan into the fire. You leave a job. Like most people that are in our mental purpose world, they're like, I just got to get out of this freaking job. I hate working for this company. And then they start a business, yet they didn't change their habits as an employee and they become an employee, which is what you're explaining, which is you're working 12 hours a day and you think, well, I've got to quit this job and spend more time with my family. And you really make less money and less time for the family.
Yep.
And it's more detrimental, however, not to you in that moment, not to you in those moments. And I'm sure, how did you sustain $41,000 a year? Was your wife working?
Nope. She made a deal with me early on and says, I'm going to stay at home and raise the kids. You're going to make the money.
Okay.
How humbling is that? You're like, you know what? You're right. I'm not going to abandon the kids and have them have a sitter here all day. Yeah, I'm going to take care of the kids. That's my job. Your job is to make the money.
But as a provider, how did you cope with that? Because you're not providing that much. I don't care if it's in the 80s. What, it was in the 80s, 90s?
One thing about having your own company, though, is even though your salary is $41,000 a year, you have the other things you can do with the company that, like, it pays for your car,
sure,
and your expenses and your insurance, and it does lots of things that really, if you considered them in your salary, it would be, much more than that. So there are some goodies of having your own company, as long as you can sustain those kind of things.
Right.
What eventually I did is bought a bunch of buildings and then leased it to the company and then paid off the mortgages. And that made it where I didn't even have to pay myself a salary anymore.
Yeah.
That really has made a huge difference. The other thing that happened to me, and this could happen to you, is my kids grew up and I started having, this was really important. I started having family meetings. Because I said, I can't seem to get to my attorney. I can't seem to get my children interested in the business. And he said, well, I've been conducting family meetings with companies and they start learning about the company and it gets them interested in the business.
Sure.
I said, okay, well, I'm going to start doing it. How often do I need to do it? And he said, at least once a year. So I started doing it and it worked like a charm. They immediately got interested. They would come out and look. And I got 3 of my children. Unfortunately, one of them left, but two, one was an in-law. He's the one that left. And then 2 that came in and they're still there. And one of them CEO.
Nice.
And both of them started companies inside my company. And they had the gene. I'm like, they had the gene to design product and they had the gene to run the company, to run their part of the company.
There's something about, and you and I know this because we worked for our family businesses. There's something about your learning curve and being faster, in my opinion, when you work for your father or your family, because there's something that you got to prove. There's love that you're trying to get. There's some significance in there. There's something there that you're going to learn a lot faster than if you work for somebody and there's no connection. There's no deep level connection. Can you go through the structure of your family meetings? Like, how did you conduct them? How old were the kids? Because I know there's going to be a bunch of people that are interested. I do that with my kids. My kids are 2 and 6.
Okay. Well, let's go back to the first thing you were saying. One of the things that really bugged me when I was at my family business was that I might be getting promoted because of who I was. Now, this was a 6,000 employee company. Back then, it would probably be a 25,000 employee company now.
Sure.
So I always worried that I might be getting promoted because of my name and not my qualifications. And I mentioned that at a dinner with one of my cousins who was in the business with me. And his wife went nuts.
Really?
She went off on me. I can't believe you'd say something like that. I was like, wow, okay. I'm just telling you, that's how I feel. I'm not saying you have to feel that way.
Sure.
Or he has to feel that way. It's like, wow, I hit a nerve. But that was after I had left, so I could say something like that.
Got it.
It always bothered me that maybe I was getting promoted not because I was qualified. And after I got into my own business, I realized I wasn't qualified.
Oh.
And I learned about how to read financial statements.
Yeah.
And how to take care of issues, how to borrow money, all these things you had to learn, how to think strategically, how to think 5 years ahead and plan for that. And you didn't have money. You're going to have to plan 5 years ahead, but you don't have money. And I had something called phantom stock. Have you ever heard of this?
Yeah.
It's stock that comes real if certain qualifications are met. And this was, we had to make $1 million a year, 3 years in a row, and then their stock would be good. And we were making like $50,000 a year. And they're like, what are you doing? We'll never do that. I said, watch, we're going to do it. And you're going to be amazed what happens. And you're going to be surprised how fast it happens. And we did it. And they all got their stock. And several of them are millionaires because it worked.
Yeah.
But but it caused them, I was like, I'm losing these key people. I can't lose them anymore. I need something to retain them.
Keep them in,
so
yeah.
I use that to do that. And I've gone down another path here. Sorry.
No, it's okay. The family meetings with the kids.
Family meetings. Okay.
Yeah.
So
what's your structure?
Financials. Well, first, and this is really important, you had other people at the meeting that weren't with the company or were with the company, but they weren't you. So when they said something about the company, it was more believable to the children than if I said it. Right?
What do you mean by that? So you're taking, how old are your kids, by the way, in this scenario?
They are out of college. Well, some are out of college and some are not. They're in high school or college.
Okay. So you're bringing
But
them into like the boardroom and you're sitting down with the key
the
staff.
accountant, the
Okay.
CFO, the staff, the key staff. And they're going around the room and they're talking about what we're going to do next year. Here's our plan. Here's what we did this year. Here are the financials. And your accountant is going, hey, guys, you don't know how great this is. This is an incredible company. They're doing an amazing job. Your father's very creative, whatever it is.
Yeah. I like that.
This is very unusual. I call on, the firm has hundreds of clients, but I have 20 myself. And this is very unusual what you got going on here. And then the attorney talks and he says something like that and
nice,
a little bit differently. They hear that and they go like, maybe I shouldn't be so down just because it's dad's company.
Yeah.
And so it was critical. And I usually had a video. So here's the new product video. Here's all the products we're coming out with next year. And it had a really nice song behind it. And you'd open with that. And then you'd start probably with financials. You'd review financials. And you're like, wow, y'all are making $5 million or whatever it is.
Right.
Like, wow, that's incredible. I had no idea, And you've grown. Well, we were doubling every 3.5 years.
Wow.
And so they also saw the growth. And what got one of them interested was I was buying a company that was in the indoor furniture business. And I said, I kind of want us to, we're so seasonal. We don't make money 5 months a year. We need something to counterbalance that. And he said, well, I think I might be interested in that. I said, okay, come on in.
Yeah.
And that got my son in, which was huge because he's CEO now. And frankly, he's a lot smarter than me. So
yeah,
he's doing a great job.
That's cool.
Me a chance to work less.
Yeah. It was almost like an investor meeting. Like you brought them in.
It would be almost like a board of directors meeting.
Right. That's cool. I like that. That's a really
They own some stock too. So they had some stock. And I had given them, not a ton of stock, but eventually that became a lot of stock. But they had some stock. And I was like, well, y'all going to get this one day. So you better, if you want to survive, because I don't know. I guess we could hire a president or a CEO, but
sure, it wouldn't be the same.
And we did. During this process, my son came in. He didn't. Here's a weird thing. He did not want to run the company.
It's a lot of pressure.
I almost died. This is part of what's in the book. He didn't want
the lung thing.
Pulled in a CEO from. They went to
talk about that for a second. This is the Clot, right?
Dick Cross is who I brought in. This is probably. I think this is in the book. I brought in a guy named Dick Cross, who that's what he did. He helped people run companies and get them. He usually kind of got them ready to sell. He's out of private equity originally.
Yeah.
But he had 2 MBAs. I was like, I was introducing him at a club one night to my son and a friend of mine, and they all had MBAs and they were kind of doing their, this is how my resume. And I have an MBA from Harvard. And then William says, I have an MBA from Alabama. And then my friend says, I have an MBA from Virginia. And I went, I have an MBA. And they all look at me because they know I don't, right? I said, I have an MBA in mistakes and mine costs way more than y'all's.
And it's way more prevalent.
Yeah, exactly. I learned a lot more than y'all. Yeah.
Yep. So you brought him in when you had the blood clot, right?
Right. When I had blood clots in my lungs to help me, in case I died, he would run the company because William was saying, I don't want to do it.
Yeah, it's interesting.
And then he came in for like 15 months and, I had a contract with him that said I could let him go at any time. And then William said, okay, I think I want to do it. And he said, if you'll run it based on this EOS system, I'll do it. I said, okay, well, that's fine. What's EOS? And he kind of walked me through that. I don't know. Have you ever heard of this? Entrepreneurial Operating System?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So William decided he wanted to run it that way. I was like, great, do it. And so he started putting the system in place, and it's been great.
Got it. How did you trust your son to do that? Or how did he trust himself to do that? How did he know he could do it?
That's probably a question for him. I'm not sure.
How did you trust him to do it?
I knew he could do it. I knew he could do it because he's, like I said, he's way smarter than me.
Yeah.
And he has an MBA, so he could do anything.
He has a real MBA.
A real MBA.
A piece of paper MBA.
Yeah, I figured I could help him if he got in. What's interesting now is since I hadn't walked, but I'm working maybe 3 days a week and interviewing cool guys like Ian. And he realizes I'm letting him do it, whatever he wants.
Yeah.
And now he brings me into situations. He asks me to come into situations as opposed to me putting myself in front of the situation.
Got it. Okay.
So it's hard for me. I never knew if I couldn't work because I worked since I was 13 years old, pretty much.
Right.
And so, but it's I kind of like it, actually.
So what is obviously you've been a successful guy most of your life, except for the $40,000 thing. I mean, and that's just success of money, right? That's just financial success. What is, look, a lot of people have this idea of what success is supposed to be, and it's millions of dollars. And when I get there, I'll be successful. When I get this deal or buy this company or sell this company, I'll be successful. Or, a lot of guys in the real estate world say, when I have this many units, I'll be successful. What does success mean to you? Because you've been a successful guy almost your whole life.
Well, I think relationships are probably the most important thing. I think, like you're describing your wife relationship. I know that's really important to you.
Yeah.
So it's your relationships with your employees, your friends, your wife, your employee, every part, your customers, your lawyer, your accountants, all the people that you surround yourself with are critical.
Yeah.
They'll want to help you. They'll tell you things that may not tell other people.
Sure.
But there's one thing I learned, and I learned this after I decided to be an entrepreneur. You have to have 6 traits to be an entrepreneur. Have you know this?
I feel like I do. I want you to go through it though.
So it's visionary, passionate, problem solver, driven, and this next one is the big one, risk taker.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people, when I get to that one, they kind of go, I don't have that.
Yeah, I'm out. Yeah.
And I'd say, then you need not to be in, because if you don't have that, you actually have to have all these. Risk taker, responsible is the last one. And if you have all those, you can do it. If you don't have all those, maybe you have 3 and your partner has 3, but I'm not sure you'll jihad with each other. If one's a risk taker and one's not, it'll be very hard for you to make decisions.
Sure. Well, that's where
I think the risk taking part. Say that again.
That's where trust has to be present. Like my wife wasn't a big risk taker at all. Maybe your wife wasn't either. They just trusted us.
Understatement.
Right.
Yeah.
So go over those again for people that are writing it down. So it's go over those again. Visionary.
See the future. So I think that's probably one of, if not the most important thing.
Sure.
Passionate. You'll know if you're passionate because that's one people will say to you.
They'll feel it from you.
Yeah, they'll feel it by the way you talk to them about your business or whatever you're doing.
Yeah.
Because that's the one thing that people say, wow, you're really passionate about your business. So
yeah.
Problem solver, driven. And this is one that this is where I describe driven. I have it. I hate it because you can't sleep at night. You're constantly trying to push forward to get the next thing. You're looking for more volume. You're looking for more profit. And you're just so driven that I kind of sometimes I wish I wasn't so driven, because I don't think but you got it or you don't. It's kind of,
Sure. Some people say it's a blessing and a curse. I've never known my drive to be a curse ever. It has gotten into some hairy situations.
For sleeping, maybe. It's a sleeping curse.
Yeah. But I wouldn't have the MBA if I didn't have so much drive and so much high risk tolerance to get myself into situations and to go, all right, dude, you're deep in the mud now. You better figure out a way out quick or you're going to sink. Yeah. And then that's what makes that's what makes greatness. I mean, what you're talking about here is basically the way you operate. So what success means to you, like what you described is how you show up for people, not in terms of the amount of money you make or the size of your business. It's really those relationships that you cultivate over time and the way you show up for people. That's legacy too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Risk taker is another one, and responsible. Responsible kind of goes without saying. You got to be,
of course,
responsible. And it's probably integrity or something like that. It takes a lifetime to get a reputation. It takes a second to lose it. It's that kind of thing. I think responsible has to do with paying your bills. About paying your bills, because you're not going to be able to pay your bills all the time. That becomes a huge problem for a lot of people, and they drown. If you'll call your suppliers and they know you and believe in you, you'll be amazed. I think there's a big section in the book because when this Royal Bank of Scotland thing, I ended up calling my supplier in China. He said, hey, I believe in you. Just don't pay me.
Yeah.
And I went, ever? It's like, no, you have to pay me eventually, but I believe you'll get through this. I'm going to help you get through. Okay, how much? $2 million. I went, okay. And so I said, if that works, I'm going to call my other supplier. So I started calling them. I came up with $5 million really quick.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was like, wow, I'm going to get through this. And I started calling every supplier and asking for longer terms.
Yeah.
Some would give me, pay me when you can. Some would give me, okay, you got to pay me in 90 days. But almost everybody went 90 days.
Sure.
I said,
Well,
I'm not talking about forever. I'm just talking about to get through this.
Sure.
I mean, it's a great recession.
What's their choice though? They don't get any, like I remember my dad making those calls in 2008 and 9 to our vendors. And he was like, look, I'm balancing as much as I can. If you can extend me if you can send 60 days, I'll be fine and I'll get you paid. Other than that, it's all going to be a house of cards that falls down, and you're going to be one of 50 people in line in a bankruptcy court. If you guys can't help me, I can't help you, and I don't want to do that. And
I didn't go there.
Right.
I didn't use the B word.
Well, it was so in the shipping business, as you probably know from moving goods, like as a customs broker.
Yeah, I know exactly. You're taking huge risk, really low margin. Yeah.
And U.S. Customs, because we were a customs broker, and we did customs clearances for our clients, and warehousing and trucking and freight forwarding and ocean and air, like customs would take the duty and tariff out immediately upon arrival. So the moment you submitted those documents, 250 grand, 850 grand, $2 million, 20,000 gone. You're like, holy shit. What about my cash flow? And customs like, we don't care. We want our money, and we're not putting you on terms. We'll get our money. And that's what really started messing us up. And luckily the vendors started working out and everything was cool. And then things spiraled out of control. We had a client go out of business on us that owed a lot of money, and that just hurt big time. But like I rode that storm from 08 to 12, and that's when I got out. And I basically was sleeping in the warehouse, like living in my dad's warehouse, because I didn't have any money and nobody would really rent to me. And then at that time, my parents' relationship was a little toxic because of their communication and what was going on with the business and money. So I didn't want to be in that environment. I could have, but I didn't want to. And so what I realized was like, wow, I think I made a mistake. I didn't make a mistake joining my dad in business. I think I did it for the wrong reasons. Mm-hmm. And I think what I realized subsequently in like closer to now times was that I did it because I didn't believe in myself enough to go do it on my own. And when I said to my dad, I remember this day, like I was just fighting back tears because I didn't want to show him like weakness. Not that he would have cared. I just didn't want to. And I said, like, I think it's time for me to chart my own course here. And he was like, I totally support you on it. I think you're right. You're living under my shadow, man. Like, I know you're doing really well and you're successful here, but I think you need to know if you can do this or not without my help. And I said, he goes, this is probably the best time for you to leave because you can't come to me for money. You will fail or succeed, and it will be because of you. And that will build you way more than if you knew that you had a lifeline from me, that if you failed, you could come back to me and I'd fund you for a little bit or whatever. Like, that was very helpful to me. And it was tough, but
it's tough. Yeah, that's very tough.
Like, the vision that I had for what could be possible was so big that I would have done myself a massive disservice if I didn't try. And I'm telling that to the audience. Like, if you're sitting here listening to this and you haven't made that decision to take a big ass risk because you got this big vision, like, you must act, because we're not recession proof from here out. There's some shit that may come down the pike sooner than you think. And then all of a sudden you have more excuses pile on and more blame pile on. Like,
and you're always going to have these 9/11s or recession or things that happen. Yeah. Or something that happens inside your business. You got
always a reason. Always a reason. Another kid comes along, a wife or a husband loses the job. Like, there's always a reason. There's never a good time to start a business. There's never a good time to take a chance. I don't know. I don't think there is.
No. Well,
no.
Actually, the odd thing is when William came in, both of my children came in 2008.
Oh, nice.
in January, before the recession hit.
Yeah.
They were sort of stuck. They couldn't get out. There was no jobs available.
Sure.
So they were sort of stuck there. They had to make it work. And then William came out with his line in January of 10. So it took him 2 years to put this thing together, the indoor furniture thing. And it was immediately successful. And oddly enough, the timing was perfect because nobody was doing coming out with a new business,
Right.
And everybody went, wow, look at this stuff. I love this stuff. And so it worked out great. So timing's important.
So tell people about your book. I haven't had a chance to read it. I read the cliff notes that they sent me, and it's first of all, the name reminds me, like the name like makes me feel like I'm sitting on a beach in the Outer Banks or in Nantucket, you know, a summer classic. Like it's very reminiscent of just a beautiful summer evening, you know?
Yeah, I think the guys at the company that wanted me to sell a lot of books, they like that name. So I was like, well, that's the name of the company too. So
yeah,
it is classic. But I had a situation where I was going to China. I've been to China 29 times, and when you go on that plane, you're in a tube and the air compression, and you're not moving around enough, and so you get blood clots in your legs if you don't move around a lot. So that happened to me, and then this is interesting. I had a dream every night for a year that I was going to die. And I went to my son, and I'm at a meeting with my son, and we're at our farm, and we're had lunch, and we're getting ready to break up. I said, I know this is tough to believe, but I'm going to die, and it's going to be soon. He's like, you're crazy, Dad. I was like, I'm telling you, and I haven't told your mother this, but I'm having a dream every night I'm going to die, and I'm telling you, it just bugs the heck out of it. After a while, you kind of go, okay, right. God's trying to tell me something here. I'm like,
yeah.
And that next day, the next morning is when I got in trouble and went to the hospital. And it turns out I had 5 blood clots in my lungs. And here's an interesting, a blood clot to your lung, your kidney, your heart, your liver, your brain, any of those locations can kill you. I was like, I had to learn that after the fact. But after that happened to me, what happened is I'm in the hospital, and you get a signal to your brain that you're going to die. I mean, this is clarity like you can't imagine. It's not like I think I'm going to die or I might die. It's 100%. You're going to die. You got a few seconds or maybe a couple of minutes.
Really?
Say whatever you're going to say. We're done here. You're gone. We're gone. You know, eternity awaits you. And the infinity of all that is just mind-boggling. So the nurses, your bed comes up in the hospital to watch TV, but it also goes down, so your head is lower than your feet.
Yeah.
So the nurses are pushing me over in the bed and filling me full of dopamine and salt water, and I come back. And I'm 100% sure I'm dead, and then I come back, and I'm like going, I'm supposed to be dead. Why am I alive? Why am I here?
Wait a minute. So you actually died?
I did not. I never passed out.
Okay.
I'm telling you, you're like 100% sure. I'm telling my wife is there, and I'm saying goodbye, and I'm sorry, and you're going to have to deal with all the things that I've messed up, and and I'm crying, and then and then this happens. Well, then I'm crying like uncontrollably. I can't stop crying for hours. I'm crying because I'm thinking, am I going to die now? Is it a few minutes? Is it an hour? Why am I not dead? Why am I alive? Is there some purpose for this? And that's when I got the you need to write the book signal. I was like, write the book. I was like, I don't know how to write, right? So I started trying to write the book, and I didn't do a good job. So I started interviewing authors and found Christopher, thank God.
Yeah. Wow. Dude, that is such an incredible story. I mean, obviously
they were actually saying, take him to ICU, take him to ICU. I was like, and I started calculating where the elevators were. I was like,
right.
Guys, I'm dead. We're not going to make it to the elevator.
Wow. How long ago was this?
This was 2013. So
wow.
8 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then you got really clear on what? You got clear on the book. Did you get clear on your purpose, your mission, like why you were supposed to be here? What did you get clarity on?
Read the book. Why we're having this interview right here, that I could help people, or I'll tell you one thing: those difficult times that I was in, praying during those difficult times, particularly during the $20 million loan thing.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, I can't do this by myself.
Sure.
You're going to have to help me here. I don't know what to do. I need wisdom. Whatever happens today, you got this, right? It's kind of like Jesus Take the Wheel, the song,
Yeah, no, you're talking about faith and trust. That's the other piece that an entrepreneur needs is faith and trust. Sometimes you got to let go of not even sometimes. Yeah. So often you got to just let go and go, you know what? I got to have faith here that this thing's going to work because there's not more input that I can put in.
Pray for wisdom. I think wisdom is and that's what this COVID thing, I almost hate to bring this up. I don't know what your listeners think of this, but all these anti-vaxxers
sure.
that say they're going to pray. I'm like, God gives you wisdom.
Yeah.
Get him to give you wisdom and make a decision based on the wisdom he gives you. Don't make it on your personal feelings.
Yeah, I agree.
And God is not going to help you if you're not using your wisdom to make a decision about whether to get a vaccine or not. Anyway.
You know what's interesting about that, Bew? I feel you on that. Like, very much agree.
My employees is like I've lost a couple employees.
Sure.
And oddly enough, they both did not get vaccinated, and they told the other employees, "You got to get back." I made a huge error here, and they just still didn't. Still, they moved some needles, but not enough.
And they died, lost them as in they died.
And they died. And
you know what's interesting?
The other employees still didn't get vaccinated. And I was like,
how does that not move the needle? Like I listen to Howard Stern a lot, and on there's these like packages he'll play of all these different clips of these preachers. These like nutty, and I'm not getting down on any religion or preachers, and that's not what we're doing here. I'm just bringing up a specific incident. These nutty preachers who are like, this is because of this, and COVID's because of that, and gay rights, and all that. I'm like, who believes this shit? And they're complaining about abortion, and that's why God made COVID. And I'm like, these people actually brush their teeth. There are people that listen to these nut jobs. These people have private jets, by the way, that's a whole nother story. But every single one of these people that got on and said, we're drinking lithium and we're taking silver and we're doing this, they're all dead. And they had some deathbed confessionals from some of these preachers who were like, I was wrong. God gave me the power to make a choice not to heal. Like,
exactly what I'm talking about. Education.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, and it was straight from these guys' mouths.
Give you the wisdom to make a good decision. Don't.
We were
He's
blessed
not going
with
to protect
that.
you from yourself from making a bad decision.
No, we were blessed with that. We were blessed with power of choice. And unfortunately, sometimes we make choices that don't serve us, and sometimes we do. And we got to live with those choices. Either way, God goes, I did my part. Yep. If you believe in God, if you believe in the universe goes, I did my part. You got to do yours now. That's the responsible thing. We could go another hour talking about this stuff. But I heard from there was a guy that I know. I'm not going to go into specifics because people know who I'm talking about. And I saw him post something about an event he was supposed to be hosting to help a bunch of people. And because they made a mask mandate at the last minute, and because his integrity was compromised, he didn't go to the event. And all these people probably suffered from not getting his wisdom, which now thinking about the mindset probably was better off. But what's interesting, I looked at that and I said, time to leave my life. And I deleted from Facebook because I thought about it and I was like, man, what about your integrity to your commitment to help those people, to speak at this event? Your stupid, and I'm saying stupid, your stupid opinion, took away from 50 people. Anti-mask, anti-vaxxer, all the bullshit. Your stupid opinion and your integrity to your little opinion took away from 50 people potentially learning from you. Now, we obviously know from that, we didn't want those people learning from a guy like that and that type of mentality. So that's good. It worked out well. Yet, your opinion is yours. Yet there has to be a greater good here that people think about. It's not about you. It's about helping others. It's about I don't want to go down this road. You and I can go deep into this.
My employees have said enough. Don't because we do monthly videos.
Yeah.
It said stop it.
Yeah.
Well, okay. I'll stop.
Yeah. And I totally get it. I totally get it.
And we'll pray for them on the videos and like, pray for. I got to tell you, it's pray for wisdom. Don't pray to not get COVID and die.
I'm not saying that there's one way that's right or wrong. What I'm saying is it's not about you. It's not about you being right or you not doing something that someone tells you to do. It's about the greater good of the whole. That was my thought process on it is, if like maybe I'm not as aligned with this choice as I would like to be, and I have a family, and there are people that look up to me, and I'm going to make decisions based on that. I'm going to make good decisions.
You talk to these guys, it's impossible. You can't.
It's impossible.
Have a conversation with them.
Impossible.
So I get it.
I completely agree. No, I do too. The thing is though, there are certain things that I'll let take up my mind share. And that's not one of them. That's not one of them. It's just not like this is.
I just ask God, give me the words to say to convince them they're wrong. Like, I'm trying. I'm doing a lousy job here. Help me.
I've got kids. I've got businesses. I got people that count on us in this mental purpose movement in this community. There's only so many things I'm going to let take my mind share up, and me having an opinion on a world issue is not one of them. In that issue, there are other issues I care about. It's not that one. So I go with the flow.
We're going to get through this, but a lot of people are going to die because of it.
It's unfortunate.
And it's the Chinese. I go to China a lot, and I know about the bats and the whole thing and the food markets and all that stuff. I've been there, so totally get how it happened.
Well, look, we took a turn here, and I think it's still fine because
we did.
the point is.
Hopefully we didn't lose your audience.
No. They'll be fine. And there's going to be some people that give me some hate mail, and that happens every time. That's okay. I appreciate it. It helps me course correct. What we're saying is pick and choose your battle. Pick and choose what you focus your mind on and your mind share, because you only have so much mind share per day, per minute, per hour. It's only so much energy you can manufacture without additional things giving you more and more energy. And that's not sustainable. So we're saying pick and choose your battles. Pick and choose your battles. I think that's a good way to end it. That's a good way to end it. Pick and choose your battles. You want to be an entrepreneur? Pick that.
Isn't Ian the guy in Rogue? What's Tom Cruise movies? This?
Mission Impossible?
Mission Impossible, yeah. Is that what you're named after, the Mission Impossible series?
Are you talking about the guy who wrote James Bond?
His name is Flynn. You're right.
No, this has been great, Bew. I really appreciate your time. I think we got a lot of wisdom here. And where can people go find the book? Amazon?
Amazon, yeah. Or you can go to bewhite.com or summerclassics.com. Or this is kind of cool. My roommate in college is an actor, producer, director, and he called me and said, I want to read your book for Audible. And he's won a couple of Emmys, and he's a cool guy, and so he reads it on. If you like Audible, I'm an Audible nut, so
I am too. I don't
drive a lot, and it's a great chance to read.
I agree.
I
totally agree.
Pulling a book out.
Well, I really appreciate you being here. I know the audience does appreciate your time, and I'm really excited to read this book now that I've talked to you. I'm really excited. Yeah.
Super.
Cool. Well, thanks, Bew. And audience, absolutely. Audience, we'll catch you on the next one. Hope you enjoyed this one.